For those of you who don't know, Justice Scalia was a devout Christian, publicly defended the resurrection of Jesus Christ. A few years ago, gave a speech in which he said, quoting Paul, said, "We are of all men are most to be pitied if there is no resurrection." He was a devout Roman Catholic, and he tells the story of his conversion. He was in Switzerland studying during college, and on his way home went through London, went to Hyde Park, and the freedom of speech is very different in England than it is in America. And there's a place where you can stand on a soapbox and preach what you want. And he went by a Catholic priest who was standing on a soapbox preaching the gospel. And this man was being ridiculed and mocked. And it was a key moment in Justice Scalia's conversion to Christianity and to become a Catholic Christian. For those who can't grasp that, it's a show for another day. But he did an interview recently with the New York Magazine. The author of the magazine said to Scalia, "What do you think about the Pope Francis?" Scalia replied, "He's the vicar of Christ. He's the chief. I don't run down the Pope." So she pressed him, saying that Francis gave indications that the church should not focus publicly so much on child killing or on homosexuality. Some of those statements have been backed off of a little bit. But anyway, Scalia said, "I think he's absolutely right. I think the church ought to be more evangelistic." But he, Pope Francis, hasn't backed off the view of the church on those issues. He's just saying, don't spend all our time talking about that stuff. Talk about Jesus Christ and evangelize. I think there's no indication whatever that he's changing doctrinally. The reporter asked him if he believed in heaven and hell. Here's his response. "Oh, of course I do. Don't you believe in heaven and hell?" Later on in the interview, Scalia explained, "I even believe in the devil." And the reporter asked how the devil was at work in the world today. And Scalia said, "What he's doing now is getting people not to believe in him or God. He's much more successful that way." That reminds me of a Keith Green song many years ago. "It's getting so much easier now since no one believes in me anymore." That's the devil speaking in first person. I invite you to do some searches on Justice Scalia's faith and public statements that he made regarding his faith. He is survived by his wife, Maureen, 9 children, and one news report I read said 28 grandchildren. One of his sons is a Catholic priest, Father Paul Scalia, in the Washington, D.C. area, Northern Virginia. And Father Paul Scalia was quoted recently as saying that Justice Scalia was very proud that all of his children are conservative, all of them are successful in their own right, and all of them attend weekly Mass, which is attending weekly Mass is a very key sign of devotion. In other words, if a Catholic is truly devout, one of the telltale signs is, do they go to Mass every week? Do they go to Mass every Sunday? And Justice Scalia, he has 9 children, God rest his soul. Justice Scalia has 9 children, all of whom attend weekly Mass. Some of the clerks talked about the fact that as Chief Justice, not only did he observe holy days, but he encouraged, almost insisted, that any of his Catholic staff, his interns, also observed holy days. So once a year on Ash Wednesday, Scalia would go to Mass at some point and then return to the Supreme Court with the ashes on his head. The priest says, "From the dust you came, to the dust you will return." It's a sobering remembrance that we are here but for a short while and that we will return to God. And he encouraged his staff and his interns who were Catholic to go to Ash Wednesday services, as well as other high holy days, days of obligation in the Catholic faith. How much time do we have? We've got about a minute, 2 minutes? We have about, all right. We got a half a minute left. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a break. I want to read to you from the Obergefell decision, a couple of his quotes, and then discuss what is about to happen politically. Please don't go away. America has lost a great hero, and we're in danger. We are in danger right now because of it. I'll tell you why when we come back.